Jealousy is a peculiar emotion. It's not always about what you have, but about how your presence makes others feel. For those who targeted you, their jealousy wasn't sparked by anything you did wrong, but by something deep within them. It stemmed from their own unresolved insecurities, a silent turmoil they couldn't escape. You see, jealousy is often like a mirror. It reflects the insecurities they're trying to hide. And in your light, those insecurities were brought into sharp focus. Your life, filled with God's blessings and natural talents, became the mirror they couldn't avoid. Every accomplishment of yours, every smile, and every step forward reminded them of their perceived lack. Imagine their jealousy as a shadow. It grows darker and larger the more you shine. For them, your confidence, talents, and inner peace were a constant reminder of the gaps in their own lives, gaps they were too afraid or too unwilling to address. But it's deeper than envy over achievements. Their jealousy was tied to the essence of who you are, a person who radiates joy, kindness, and authenticity without needing to try. Your light isn't something you flaunt. It's a gift from God, effortlessly exuding warmth and grace. It's like a sunrise breaking through a cold, dark night, beautiful and powerful. But it can make some people uncomfortable because it reveals what they've been hiding in the dark corners of their hearts. For these individuals, jealousy wasn't a fleeting feeling. It became a fuel that drove their actions. They chose to gossip, spread lies, and drag your name through unnecessary drama. But here's the truth. Their actions had nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. They were battling internal struggles, mental challenges, and spiritual darkness. Their negative choices and lifestyles were products of years of unhealthy patterns. And when your light shone brightly in their midst, it exposed the shadows they'd been living in. Think of your presence as a flame. It didn't burn them intentionally, but it revealed their wounds. Their jealousy wasn't just about your outer beauty, though that was part of it. It was about the totality of your being, your talents, your kindness, and the way you carried yourself with grace and humility. They envied your ability to move through life with a quiet confidence that only comes from knowing who you are and whose you are. This jealousy wasn't limited to one area of your life. It followed you everywhere, at work, on social media, even in social settings. They couldn't escape the impact of your light. But here's the important part. You didn't do anything to deserve this treatment. Their jealousy was never about what you lacked, but about what they saw in you, something they couldn't replicate or take away. Jealousy, at its core, is a destructive emotion. Proverbs 27 verse 4 says, "Wrath is cruel, anger is overwhelming, but who can stand before jealousy? It consumes the person who harbors it, turning their thoughts and actions into tools of division and harm." Yet, their jealousy could never truly touch you because it wasn't yours to bear. It was their own battle, their own struggle, and their own pain. As you reflect on their behavior, remember this: their envy was never about what you did, but about what your light exposed. They were trapped in patterns of comparison, measuring their worth against your God-given gifts. But your light, your essence, wasn't meant to be dimmed for their comfort. It was given to you by the Creator to shine, even if it made others uncomfortable. Their jealousy may have tried to pull you down, but God has already lifted you higher. Their actions were a reflection of their struggles, not a judgment of your worth. And while they may remain stuck in their shadows, you've been called to rise above and let your light shine even brighter. You did nothing wrong. Let this sink in. Their actions weren't your fault. You didn't spark their jealousy, and you didn't deserve the treatment they gave you. It's important to understand that their behavior was a reflection of their own brokenness, not a measure of your worth. You were a good friend, always there when they needed someone, offering support, kindness, and understanding. Yet, despite your loyalty and good intentions, they chose to single you out, dragging you into their world of drama, gossip, and false rumors. It's human nature to want to find a reason for being mistreated. You may have spent countless nights replaying events in your mind, asking, "What did I do wrong?" But the truth is, you did nothing wrong. Their jealousy was not about your actions, but about who you are. They envied the light you carry, the effortless way you bring positivity to the spaces you enter. They saw the peace in your heart and the blessings in your life, and instead of celebrating with you, they resented you for it. Jealousy, when left unchecked, becomes a weapon. These individuals didn't need a valid reason to target you. They simply chose to. Think of their actions as a storm, unpredictable and chaotic, but never your fault. You were caught in the winds of their insecurities, yet you stood firm. They threw gossip like stones, hoping it would break your spirit. But their words couldn't destroy what God has fortified within you. Their envy wasn't just about one aspect of your life. It was the culmination of everything you represent. They were jealous of your talents, your confidence, your kindness, and even your natural beauty. But what they truly couldn't stand was the light that radiates from within you. A light that doesn't come from makeup, achievements, or material success. It's the kind of light that only comes from God, shining through you in ways they couldn't understand. Their jealousy wasn't rational. They saw you as a reminder of everything they lacked or wished they had. It's as if your presence became a mirror, reflecting their own shortcomings and unhealed wounds. Instead of looking inward and addressing their struggles, they chose the easier path, projecting their pain onto you. It's not fair, but it's the truth. God revealed to you that their actions came from a place of jealousy, not any wrongdoing on your part. He showed you the truth, allowing you to see their bitterness for what it was. Proverbs 19 verse 11 reminds us, "Good sense makes one slow to anger, and it is to one's glory to overlook an offense." You didn't deserve their actions, but you also didn't let them define you. You rose above it, trusting in God's wisdom and protection. It's important to recognize this. Their behavior wasn't personal, even though it felt like it. Their attacks weren't about you. They were about the struggles they were battling within themselves. Their jealousy stemmed from their inability to embrace your light without feeling diminished in the process. And while their actions hurt, they were never truly about you. God's protection over you was evident in how you were shielded from their worst intentions. The drama, the gossip, the lies, they tried to pull you into their chaos, but God made sure you didn't stay there. He placed a hedge of protection around you, allowing you to see the truth and step away. Their negativity didn't stick to you because it wasn't meant for you. It was their burden, not yours. Think of this situation as a test of your character, your faith, and your ability to rise above the pettiness of others. You didn't retaliate with the same negativity they showed you. Instead, you chose to keep walking in your purpose, trusting that God would handle what you couldn't. And He did. Their attempts to harm you only highlighted the strength of your spirit and the depth of your faith. So, take this as a reminder. You did nothing wrong. Their jealousy was never about what you lacked, but about the abundance of blessings you carry. God's hand is on your life, and that's something no amount of gossip or drama can take away. You're not responsible for their bitterness, and you're not obligated to carry their burdens. Keep shining your light, knowing that God has already vindicated you. The nature of your light. There's something undeniably powerful about the light you carry. It's not just a reflection of your outer beauty or the success you've achieved. Your light is deeper, more profound. It's a God-given radiance, a glow that emanates from your soul. It's the way you carry yourself with grace and kindness, the way your words uplift others, and the peace that surrounds you even in the midst of challenges. This light, so unique and so divine, sets you apart, and that's why they couldn't handle it. Your light is not something you chose or created. It's a gift from God, a manifestation of His presence in your life. Think of it as a lighthouse standing tall on a stormy night, guiding others while remaining steadfast against the waves. Your light brings hope to those in darkness, but for some, it becomes a reminder of the shadows they cannot escape. What makes your light so special is its authenticity. You don't have to try to shine. It's effortless, natural, and pure. You don't need extravagant displays or constant validation because your light isn't rooted in external things. It comes from within, fueled by your relationship with God and the work He has done in your life. It's like a sunrise that doesn't ask for permission to illuminate the sky. It simply does because that's its purpose. But here's the thing about light. It doesn't just illuminate, it also reveals. When you walk into a room, your presence exposes what's hidden in the shadows. For some, this is inspiring. It pushes them to grow, to heal, to seek their own light. But for others, it's unsettling. Your light reveals their insecurities, their unresolved pain, and their inner struggles. It's not that you intentionally cause discomfort, but the mere fact that you exist as you are becomes a challenge to those who aren't ready to face their own truths. This is why your light has made you a target. People who are stuck in negativity or bitterness often see your light as a threat. It's not because you've done anything wrong, but because your presence forces them to confront parts of themselves they'd rather ignore. Imagine your light as a mirror reflecting their inner state. While you see joy, growth, and purpose, they see what they lack. And instead of working on themselves, they project their frustrations onto you. Your light doesn't just shine outward. It transforms the spaces you enter. It's a warmth that draws people in, a beacon that makes others feel seen and valued. But not everyone is ready to embrace that. Some people, consumed by jealousy or bitterness, will try to dim your light because it reminds them of their own darkness. They'll gossip, spread lies, and create drama, hoping to pull you into their negativity. But here's the truth. Your light is untouchable because it comes from God. Matthew 5 verses 14 to 16 says, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others." This scripture is a reminder that your light is meant to be seen. It's meant to inspire, to heal, and to glorify God. No matter how much others may try to hide or diminish it, your light will always shine through. For those who envy you, your light is a contradiction to their narrative. They've convinced themselves that happiness and success require manipulation or external validation. But you show them something different. You thrive through grace, through faith, and through an unwavering connection to God. This confuses and frustrates them because it challenges their beliefs about what's possible. Your light is also a sign of resilience. It's a testimony to everything you've overcome, the battles you've fought, the pain you've endured, and the healing you've embraced. It's the scars you wear proudly, not as reminders of defeat, but as evidence of victory. Your light tells a story, one of transformation, redemption, and purpose. And for those who are still stuck in their struggles, that story can be hard to witness. But here's what you need to remember. Your light isn't just for you. It's a gift meant to be shared, a reflection of God's goodness in your life. It's not your responsibility to make others comfortable with your radiance. Their reactions, whether positive or negative, are not yours to carry. You were never meant to dim your light to fit into spaces that couldn't contain you. Instead, let your light continue to shine, unashamed and unfiltered. Use it to guide, to inspire, and to glorify the one who gave it to you. And when others try to pull you down, remember this: their jealousy is a reflection of their struggles, not a measure of your worth. God has called you to be a light in the darkness, and no amount of envy or negativity can extinguish what He has placed within you. Why they targeted you? The question often lingers in the back of your mind. Why did they single me out? Why did they make me the target of their jealousy and negativity? The answer is simpler than you think, though it's rooted in complexities that have nothing to do with you. They targeted you not because of what you did, but because of who you are, because of what your light, your presence, and your growth represented to them. When people are trapped in cycles of insecurity, negativity, or stagnation, they often search for someone to blame for their discomfort. You became that person. Your achievements, your joy, and even your peace reminded them of everything they were missing. In their eyes, your success highlighted their failures. Your kindness exposed their bitterness, and your growth magnified their stagnation. It wasn't about your actions, it was about their reaction to your light. Think of their jealousy as a storm, chaotic and untamed, seeking to destroy whatever stands in its path. You, with your unwavering spirit and God-given strength, became the focal point of their storm. They saw you as a threat, not because you posed one intentionally, but because your very existence challenged their worldview. To them, your light wasn't just intimidating, it was unbearable. These individuals envied different aspects of your life: your talents, your beauty, your personality, and the favor God has placed on you. They couldn't understand how you radiated confidence without arrogance, or how you seemed to thrive without compromising your values. They wanted what you had, but instead of working to grow themselves, they decided to target you. Jealousy, after all, doesn't come from abundance. It comes from a place of lack. Their targeting wasn't confined to one area. At work, they undermined your efforts, tried to discredit you, or ignored your contributions. On social media, they stalked your successes and twisted them into something negative. Even in personal spaces, they dragged you into unnecessary drama, gossiping behind your back and spreading false rumors. Why? Because your light made them uncomfortable. You didn't fit into their world of negativity, and instead of rising to your level, they tried to drag you down to theirs. But there's something deeper at play here. Their actions weren't just fueled by jealousy. They were driven by the darkness they carried within. Ephesians 6 verse 12 reminds us, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." The negative spirits they carried couldn't coexist with the light you brought into every space. Their jealousy wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual. Your presence exposed their inner battles. It revealed the insecurities they tried to hide, the bitterness they refused to confront, and the struggles they chose to mask with unhealthy habits. Instead of seeking healing, they lashed out at you. Imagine your light as a candle in a pitch-black room. For some, it brings comfort and guidance, but for others, it reveals the mess they've been avoiding. Rather than cleaning up the mess, they tried to extinguish your light. In some cases, their jealousy wasn't even logical. Perhaps they envied your ability to smile through challenges or your faith that carried you through hard times. Maybe it was your beauty that didn't need enhancements, or your confidence that didn't rely on validation. They couldn't stand how naturally you seemed to embody the things they desperately craved. And instead of celebrating your gifts, they resented them. It wasn't just women who targeted you. Jealousy knows no gender. In your case, even a man became bitter because he couldn't accept that you surpassed him. He thought he should have been more successful, more admired, but when your light outshined his efforts, it triggered his insecurities. His reaction wasn't about fairness. It was about the bitterness he carried in his heart. But here's the truth. Their jealousy, their targeting, their negativity, it was never really about you. It was about their own struggles, their own demons, and their own refusal to grow. You were simply the reflection they couldn't bear to see. Your light didn't hurt them. It revealed the wounds they refused to heal. God, in His infinite wisdom, allowed you to see this clearly. He gave you discernment to recognize that their actions were rooted in jealousy and not in anything you did wrong. This was His way of protecting you, of showing you the true nature of those around you. And when you listened to His warnings, you were spared from even greater harm. So why did they target you? Because your light threatened their darkness. Your growth exposed their stagnation. Your joy highlighted their bitterness. But none of that is your responsibility to fix. Their targeting of you was never about who you are. It was about who they aren't yet ready to become. Remember this. Their attempts to tear you down didn't succeed because God was, and always is, on your side. He turned their attacks into lessons, their negativity into fuel for your growth. And as they remain stuck in their cycles of envy, bitterness, and self-sabotage, you continue to rise. You are walking proof that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Isaiah 54 verse 17. They targeted you, but God shielded you, and He will continue to do so. God's protection over you. Through every trial, every storm, and every attack, one truth stands unshaken. God has been your protector. When jealousy and negativity sought to pull you down, God's shield surrounded you. When lies and rumors tried to tarnish your name, God's truth preserved your character. His protection was there, constant and unwavering, even when you couldn't see it fully. Think back to the moments when the drama almost consumed you, when their gossip and schemes threatened to overwhelm your peace. You may not have understood it at the time, but God was actively working in those moments, guiding you through the chaos and keeping you from harm. Their plans to harm you could not prosper because God had already declared victory over your life. Imagine God's protection as a fortress, impenetrable and secure. Psalm 91 verse 4 beautifully illustrates this. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. God's love for you is so vast, so intentional, that he has placed a hedge of protection around your life. No matter how hard they tried to pull you into their darkness, his light covered you. Their jealousy wasn't just an emotional attack, it was a spiritual one. Their bitterness and envy carried a weight of darkness, but God didn't allow that darkness to touch you. Instead, he illuminated their true intentions, giving you the wisdom and discernment to see the situation for what it was. You were able to step back, not because you were weak, but because God showed you the strength in walking away. Think of the moments when you felt the pull to retaliate, to fight back against their actions. God stepped in and reminded you, the battle is not yours, but God's. 2 Chronicles 20 verse 15. He fought for you in ways you didn't even realize, blocking traps you didn't know were set, and closing doors that would have led to harm. His protection wasn't always obvious, but it was always present. There were times when their negativity felt like a storm brewing around you, loud, chaotic, and relentless. But even in the eye of that storm, God was your peace. He steadied your heart, quieted your fears, and reminded you of his promise. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54 verse 17. Their words may have stung, their actions may have hurt, but none of it could destroy you. God's covering over your life made sure of that. God's protection isn't just about shielding you from harm. It's about redirecting you toward his purpose. Sometimes he allowed you to experience their negativity to teach you lessons of discernment, patience, and trust. He didn't let their plans succeed, but he did let you see the truth about who they were. This revelation wasn't meant to hurt you, it was meant to free you. By revealing their hearts, God was helping you let go of the people and situations that no longer served your journey. Consider this: the very people who targeted you out of jealousy thought their actions would bring you down. They believed their lies, schemes, and gossip would weaken you. But instead, their efforts only strengthened your faith. Every time they plotted against you, God turned it into an opportunity for growth. What they meant for harm, God used for good. Genesis 50 verse 20. It's no coincidence that you've risen above their negativity. God has been elevating you to a place where their attacks can no longer reach you. He has set you on a higher path, one that is aligned with his divine plan for your life. While they remain stuck in cycles of bitterness, you are thriving in his grace and favor. Think of God's protection like a shepherd guarding his sheep. Even when the wolves circle, the shepherd stands watch, ready to defend. God has been that shepherd in your life. He has guided you away from danger, closed doors that weren't meant for you, and opened paths that lead to abundance. His protection doesn't just keep you safe. It positions you for greater blessings. Their jealousy may have driven them to target you, but their plans could never override God's will. You are a child of the Most High, and his hand on your life is unshakable. Every time they tried to drag you into their darkness, God lifted you higher. He reminded you that your light comes from him, and no amount of negativity can extinguish what he has placed within you. So, take heart in knowing that God's protection over you is eternal. You don't have to fight every battle because he is already fighting for you. You don't have to worry about their schemes because he has already declared victory in your favor. Rest in the promise of Psalm 46 verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Their actions may have tried to break you, but God has been your shield, your strength, and your defender. While they remain entangled in their bitterness, you stand in the freedom and peace that only God can provide. Let their negativity stay behind you, for God's protection is leading you forward into a life of purpose, joy, and unshakable peace. Your light exposes their darkness. Your light isn't just a blessing, it's a force. It doesn't just illuminate your path, it changes the atmosphere around you. But with that power comes an undeniable truth. Light exposes darkness. Your presence, filled with grace, joy, and God's favor, has an effect on those around you. For some, it's inspiring, a reminder of what's possible when you walk in alignment with God's purpose. For others, it's unsettling, Your light reveals truths they'd rather keep hidden, struggles they'd rather ignore, and insecurities they'd rather not confront. Think of your light as a torch in a shadowed room. The moment you step in, the hidden corners of that room are illuminated. Dust and cobwebs that went unnoticed suddenly become visible. For those living in the shadows, your light is a mirror reflecting their unhealed wounds and unresolved issues. It forces them to see the very things they've worked so hard to avoid. And for some, that reflection is too much to bear. Their darkness wasn't always intentional. Many of the people who targeted you were carrying burdens of their own, emotional pain, trauma, and spiritual battles that they hadn't dealt with. Instead of seeking healing, they masked their struggles with negativity, bitterness, and even unhealthy habits. But when you showed up, your light disrupted their comfort zone. It wasn't something you said or did. It was simply the way you lived, the way you walked with God, and the way you carried His joy and peace within you. Ephesians 5 verse 13 tells us, "But everything exposed by the light becomes visible, and everything that is illuminated becomes a light." Your light didn't just reveal their darkness, it challenged it. It highlighted the areas of their lives that needed transformation, the wounds they had neglected, and the patterns they refused to break. For those unwilling to face these truths, your light felt like an attack, even though it was anything but. This is why they lashed out at you. Your light disrupted their narratives, exposing the lies they told themselves to feel better about their situations. They had convinced themselves that their bitterness, envy, or lack of progress was justified. But then you came along, thriving in your purpose, carrying yourself with confidence, and refusing to be dragged down by negativity. Your joy contradicted their misery, and your peace unsettled their chaos. Their reactions were less about you and more about their inability to handle the truth your light revealed. Imagine a person hiding in a dark cave, comfortable in the shadows, until someone shines a flashlight inside. Suddenly, the damp walls, the dirt, and the clutter are visible. That person can either choose to clean up the space or resent the one who brought the light. Unfortunately, many of the people around you chose the latter. Your light also disrupted the spiritual forces operating in their lives. Darkness cannot coexist with light. When you walked into their space, carrying the presence of God, the spiritual battles they were fighting became intensified. Their negativity wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual. The darkness they were struggling with couldn't stand to be in the same space as your light. That's why they acted out, trying to bring you down, because your light was a threat to the very things keeping them bound. It's not easy being the one who carries light into dark places. There were times when their attacks felt personal, as if they were targeting you intentionally. But you must understand this. Their behavior wasn't about you, it was about their own struggles. Your light simply revealed what was already there. They may have tried to make you feel like the problem, but the truth is, your presence exposed the real issues. You didn't dim your light, even when it made others uncomfortable. And that's exactly what God intended. Matthew 5 verse 16 says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Your light isn't meant to be hidden or toned down to make others feel better. It's meant to shine boldly, glorifying God and illuminating the path for others. Their discomfort with your light is also a testament to its power. Darkness doesn't fight against something weak. It fights against what it fears. Your light is a reminder of God's presence, His favor, and His transformative power. It represents everything they long for but haven't yet embraced. And while it may have made you a target, it also made you unstoppable. No matter how much they tried to pull you into their negativity, your light remained untouchable because it comes from God. Think of this as God's way of setting you apart. He didn't call you to blend in with the darkness. He called you to stand out, to be a beacon of hope, and to disrupt the cycles of negativity around you. And even though it hasn't been easy, your light has already started to change things. For every person who resented you, there are others who were inspired by you. Your light planted seeds of hope, even in those who tried to reject it. Remember, their darkness is not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for their reactions to your light. Your only job is to keep shining, to stay aligned with God's purpose, and to trust that He is working through you. Let their discomfort be a reminder that your light is powerful, transformative, and divinely ordained. God didn't give you this light to hide it under a basket. He gave it to you to shine, to expose darkness, and to bring glory to His name. So let it shine, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Let it shine, knowing that it's not just revealing darkness. It's offering a path toward healing and redemption for those who are willing to embrace it. And let it shine, because it's a reflection of the one who placed it within you. Letting go of toxic relationships. Letting go is never easy, but it is necessary. When you carry the light of God within you, you will inevitably encounter people who cannot handle it. People whose jealousy, bitterness, and negativity make them toxic to your journey. It's hard to release relationships, especially when you've poured your time, love, and energy into them. But there comes a point when holding on causes more harm than good. God calls us to let go, not as a punishment to them, but as a protection for us. Toxic relationships are like weights tied to your feet as you try to swim. They keep pulling you under, no matter how strong your strokes or how determined your heart. God didn't design you to live burdened by unnecessary pain or to be stuck in environments where your spirit cannot thrive. Sometimes, walking away isn't about giving up. It's about stepping into the freedom God has prepared for you. When you let go of toxic people, you're not rejecting them as individuals, you're rejecting the harm they bring into your life. These are the ones who drain your energy, spread gossip, and keep you in cycles of negativity. They don't just resist your growth, they resent it. The closer you get to your purpose, the more their bitterness tries to cling to you. But God's word reminds us in 1 Corinthians 15 verse 33, "Do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good character." Letting go of these relationships isn't just a choice. It's obedience to God's direction. You might have thought you could help them, that your love or kindness could change their ways. But here's the truth. You are not their savior. Only God can heal the wounds they carry and break the chains that bind them. Your presence may have been a light in their darkness, but if they continually reject that light, it's time to step away. Let God handle the work that only He can do in their lives. Letting go also means breaking free from the guilt that often comes with it. You may have thought, if I just try harder, maybe they'll change. Maybe this time will be different. But toxic people often resist change because it requires them to confront their own issues. Your efforts, no matter how pure, cannot force someone to see what they're not ready to face. Holding on only delays your own growth and healing. Think of letting go as pruning a tree. A gardener doesn't prune branches out of malice, but out of necessity. Dead or diseased branches prevent the tree from thriving. By cutting them away, the gardener allows the tree to grow stronger and healthier. In the same way, letting go of toxic relationships creates space for God to bring healthier, more supportive people into your life. People who will nurture your spirit and encourage your journey. Jesus Himself modeled this. When certain people in His life rejected His message or resisted His truth, He didn't chase after them. Instead, He moved forward, knowing His mission was too important to be delayed by those who weren't ready to receive it. Matthew 10 verse 14 says, "If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet. You are called to do the same." Letting go also requires trust. Trust that God knows what He's doing, even when it hurts. You might not understand why certain people had to leave your life, but God does. He sees what you cannot. He knows the conversations you weren't privy to, the intentions hidden behind smiles, and the plans formed against you. When God removes someone from your life, it's not rejection. It's redirection. He's leading you toward better relationships, greater opportunities, and deeper peace. At first, letting go might feel like a loss, but it's actually a gain. You're gaining clarity, emotional freedom, and room for God to move in new ways. Those toxic relationships were like weeds choking the garden of your life. Now that they're gone, your purpose can flourish. You'll find that the peace that comes from distancing yourself from negativity is worth far more than the false comfort of holding on. Forgiveness is an essential part of letting go. You're not letting go to hold onto bitterness or resentment. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning their actions. It means releasing yourself from the weight of their offenses. When you forgive, you're saying, I will not let what they did define me or hold me captive. Forgiveness is freedom. It's for you, not for them. As you let go, pray for those you're releasing. Ask God to touch their hearts and heal their wounds. Pray that they find peace, even if it's not in your presence. Your prayer is a reflection of your growth, a sign that you're rising above the hurt they caused and moving forward in love and grace. Remember, letting go isn't just an act of self-preservation. It's an act of faith. It's trusting that God will replace what you've released with something far greater. It's believing that He has better relationships, richer blessings, and a brighter future waiting for you. Proverbs 3 verses 5-6 reminds us, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. So, take a deep breath and release the people, places, and patterns that no longer serve you. Trust that God's plan for your life is unfolding exactly as it should. As you let go of the toxic relationships weighing you down, you're stepping into the freedom, peace, and abundance God has always intended for you. The power of healing and transformation. Healing and transformation are among the most profound gifts God can bestow upon us. They take the broken, shattered pieces of our lives and weave them into something beautiful, something stronger, something new. It's a process that doesn't just restore, it redefines who you are. And you, chosen one, have experienced this firsthand. You've walked through pain, betrayal, and rejection. Yet here you stand, healed and transformed by God's grace. Healing is not a one-time event. It's a journey. It begins with a decision, a choice to let God into the wounds you've been carrying. Perhaps for a long time you tried to hide those wounds, convincing yourself that ignoring them would make them disappear. But healing only comes when you surrender those hurts to God. Imagine a gardener tending to a tree with deep scars on its bark. The scars don't vanish overnight, but with care and attention, the tree grows stronger. In the same way, God's hands have been nurturing you, tending to the places where life left its marks. Your healing journey has been sacred. It has required you to confront the pain you once avoided. It's meant revisiting moments of rejection and heartbreak, not to relive the hurt, but to release it. And as you've done this, God has been there every step of the way, whispering, I am making all things new. Revelation 21 verse 5. Through prayer, reflection, and faith, you've allowed Him to transform those wounds into wisdom, strength, and purpose. Transformation is the natural result of healing. When God works in your life, He doesn't just patch up the broken pieces. He creates something completely new. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 17 tells us, Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. You are no longer defined by your past, your pain, or the opinions of others. You've been transformed into someone who reflects God's glory, someone who walks in purpose and power. Think of transformation like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. The caterpillar had to go through a period of darkness, stillness, and change. But when it emerged, it was unrecognizable from its former self. It had wings to soar where it once crawled. Your journey has been much the same. The darkness you endured wasn't meant to destroy you. It was preparing you for the heights God had planned for your life. Healing and transformation aren't just about you. They're about what God is doing through you. Your story of overcoming is a testimony, a light for others who are still in their own darkness. When people see the peace you carry, the joy you radiate, and the purpose you live with, they're drawn to it. Your healing becomes an invitation for others to seek their own. Your transformation becomes proof that God is still in the business of miracles. But let's be honest, healing is not without its challenges. It required you to let go of things you once thought you couldn't live without. It meant saying goodbye to toxic relationships, releasing bitterness, and forgiving those who hurt you. It demanded faith, patience, and courage. There were moments when the process felt overwhelming, when the weight of it all made you wonder if it was worth it. But look at you now, stronger, freer, and more radiant than ever. Every tear, every prayer, every act of faith has brought you to this place. Transformation also means embracing the new you, Sometimes it's tempting to cling to old habits, old mindsets, and even old relationships because they're familiar. But God didn't bring you this far to have you return to the places that broke you. He's called you higher, to live in the fullness of your purpose. Philippians 3 verses 13 to 14 says, "Forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus." As you reflect on your healing, think about how far you've come. Remember the nights you cried out to God, unsure if you'd ever feel whole again. Remember the moments when the pain felt unbearable and the future seemed uncertain. Now look at where you are. You're living proof of God's faithfulness. You're thriving in ways you once thought impossible. The very things that tried to break you became the stepping stones to your breakthrough. Transformation also comes with responsibility. God didn't heal you just so you could keep your story to yourself. He healed you to be a vessel of hope, to share your journey with others, and to glorify Him through your life. Your story carries power. It's a reminder to others that no matter how deep their wounds, God's love goes deeper. No matter how broken they feel, God can restore them. Healing and transformation are ongoing processes. There will always be new areas of growth, new layers to uncover, and new levels to reach. But now you have the tools, the faith, and the strength to face whatever comes your way. You've seen what God can do, and you know He's not finished with you yet. Take a moment to thank God for the work He's done in your life. Thank Him for the healing, for the transformation, and for the purpose He's given you. And as you move forward, remember this: the same God who healed you yesterday is the God who will sustain you tomorrow. You are a living testimony of His grace, and your journey is a reflection of His glory. Keep walking, keep growing, and keep shining. The world needs the light of your transformation. Reaching new heights. Look at where you are now. You've risen far above the situations and people that once tried to keep you down. Every step of your journey, God has been lifting you higher, setting you apart, and preparing you for greater things. Your trials didn't break you, they shaped you. The moments when you felt targeted, betrayed, and misunderstood were merely stepping stones to the incredible heights you're now reaching. Reaching new heights isn't just about success. It's about transformation. It's about stepping into the fullness of who God created you to be. You've gone through the fire, and now you stand refined, like gold that shines brighter because of the heat it endured. Psalm 66 verses 10 to 12 reminds us, "For you, God, tested us. You refined us like silver. You brought us into prison and laid burdens on our backs. But you brought us to a place of abundance. That place of abundance is where you are heading. As you rise, your perspective changes. The things that once consumed you, the opinions of others, their jealousy, and their negativity, are no longer in your view. When you're climbing a mountain, the distractions of the valley fade into the distance. You can now see clearly the path God has laid before you, free from the fog of doubt and fear. This is what reaching new heights feels like: clarity, freedom, and purpose. You've been carried here by God's favor. The success, joy, and peace you're experiencing aren't accidental. They're divinely orchestrated. But here's the thing: not everyone can follow you to these heights. Some people, weighed down by their bitterness and negativity, will try to pull you back to where they are. But God didn't call you to stay in the valley. He called you to rise, to flourish, and to set an example of what it means to live a life aligned with His purpose. Your ascent hasn't been easy. Every step upward has come with its own challenges. There were moments when you doubted whether you had the strength to keep going. Times when the weight of past hurts felt too heavy to bear. But you didn't give up, and God didn't let you fall. Isaiah 40 verse 31 promises, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Your strength wasn't your own. It was His, carrying you every step of the way. Reaching new heights also means stepping into new blessings. The opportunities coming your way now are a result of your obedience, faith, and perseverance. Doors are opening that were once shut. Relationships are forming that uplift and encourage you. Resources are flowing in ways you never imagined. But these blessings aren't just for your benefit. They're tools for you to fulfill your purpose and glorify God. Think of yourself as a tree planted by streams of water, as described in Psalm 1 verse 3. You've been planted in God's will, nurtured by His word, and now you're bearing fruit. Your life is flourishing in ways that inspire and impact others. The very people who once doubted you, criticized you, or envied you are now seeing the evidence of God's hand on your life. Your success isn't just personal. It's a testimony to His goodness. But with these heights comes responsibility. God has placed you here not just to enjoy the view but to shine as a light for others. You've been given a platform to share your story, to encourage those still in the valley, and to remind them that their climb is worth it. Your journey isn't just about you. It's about the lives you're destined to touch. Reaching new heights also means guarding your heart. Not everyone will celebrate your ascent. Some will watch from below, still clinging to the jealousy and negativity that once tried to hold you back. Their bitterness may grow as they see you thrive, but that's not your burden to carry. Keep your focus on God, who brought you here, and trust that He will deal with them in His time. As you climb higher, you'll notice that the air is clearer, the noise quieter, and the distractions fewer. This is where God speaks the loudest, when you're aligned with His will and surrounded by His presence. Take time to listen, to seek His guidance, and to give thanks for how far He's brought you. Reaching new heights isn't just about external achievements. It's about a deeper connection with Him. Celebrate this season of your life. Reflect on how far you've come and the obstacles you've overcome. Think about the nights you cried out to God, unsure if you'd ever see the other side of your pain. Now, here you are, standing in the promise He made to you. His faithfulness has carried you, and His plans for you are just beginning to unfold. Reaching new heights doesn't mean the journey is over. It means you're stepping into a new chapter, one filled with even greater challenges and rewards. Trust that the God who brought you here will continue to lead you higher. As Philippians 1 verse 6 says, He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. Keep climbing, keep trusting, and keep shining. You were made for this. Your light, your story, and your journey are all part of God's plan to glorify Him and inspire others. So stand tall, knowing that you're exactly where you're meant to be, at a height only God could take you to. Living in God's purpose is not just about existing. It's about thriving in the calling He has uniquely designed for you. It's waking up every day with the knowledge that your life has meaning beyond what the world can offer. It's stepping into each moment with confidence, knowing that you are walking a path prepared by the Creator Himself. And you, chosen one, are living proof of what it means to be aligned with God's divine plan. God's purpose for your life was not randomly assigned. It was intricately woven into your being before you were even born. Jeremiah 1 verse 5 declares, Before I formed you in the womb I knew you. Before you were born I set you apart. From the very beginning, God had a plan for you, one filled with hope, impact, and glory. Every talent you possess, every lesson you've learned, and every trial you've overcome has been a piece of the puzzle leading you to this moment. Living in God's purpose requires surrender. It means letting go of your own plans and trusting that His are better, even when they don't make sense. Think of it like a painter creating a masterpiece. From up close, the strokes may seem chaotic, the colors mismatched. But when you step back and see the full picture, it's breathtaking. That's what God is doing in your life, painting a masterpiece that reflects His glory. Purpose isn't always easy. It's not a straight path without obstacles. In fact, living in alignment with God's will often means facing challenges that test your faith and refine your character. But every hardship, every delay, and every setback has a purpose. Romans 8 verse 28 reminds us, And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Even the struggles you've faced have been preparing you for the impact you are meant to have. One of the hallmarks of living in God's purpose is peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from an easy life, but the peace that surpasses all understanding. Philippians 4 verse 7. It's the assurance that, no matter what happens, God is in control. When you are walking in His purpose, there's a calm that settles in your soul. a deep knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Your purpose is not just about you. It's about the lives you're meant to touch. God has placed you here to be a light, a vessel, and an example. Your story, the highs and the lows, is a testimony that others need to hear. Your struggles were not in vain. They were part of God's plan to equip you for the work He's called you to do. When you live in your purpose, you're not just fulfilling your destiny. You're inspiring others to seek theirs. Living in God's purpose also means staying focused. Distractions will come, whether in the form of negativity, doubt, or the opinions of others. But when you know your calling, those distractions lose their power. Isaiah 26 verse 3 promises, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you." Keeping your eyes on God ensures that you remain steadfast, unshaken by the noise around you. Purpose brings clarity. The things that once seemed important, seeking validation, chasing approval, or conforming to expectations, begin to fade. Instead, you're driven by a desire to honor God, to fulfill His will, and to make an eternal impact. Living in purpose shifts your perspective from worldly success to kingdom significance. You're no longer living for applause, you're living for His approval. When you walk in God's purpose, blessings follow. Not just material blessings, but spiritual ones. Joy, fulfillment, and a sense of belonging in God's plan. These blessings aren't rewards for your effort. They're byproducts of alignment. As you obey God's call, He opens doors no one can shut, places you in rooms you never imagined, and connects you with people who elevate your journey. But living in purpose also requires boldness. There will be times when God's plan leads you into unfamiliar territory, asking you to step out of your comfort zone. Yet, just as He called Peter to walk on water, He's calling you to trust Him in the impossible. Your faith, combined with His power, will enable you to do things you never thought possible. Remember, purpose doesn't require perfection. It requires obedience. Reflect on how far you've come, the obstacles you've faced, the growth you've experienced, and the victories you've celebrated are all evidence of God's hand on your life. You're not just surviving, you're thriving in His purpose. And the best part? God isn't finished with you yet. Philippians 1 verse 6 declares, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." Living in God's purpose is a journey, not a destination. It's about waking up each day with a heart open to His leading, a spirit willing to serve, and a mind focused on His glory. As you continue walking this path, remember that you are not alone. God is with you, guiding, strengthening, and equipping you for everything He's called you to do. So keep moving forward, chosen one. Let your light shine, your voice be heard, and your story be told. You are living in God's purpose, and the world is better because of it. Embrace this season, knowing that every step you take is part of a divine plan that will leave a lasting impact. You are exactly where you need to be, right in the center of God's will.